It's what? 11:39 o'clock, Wednesday, September 29. Just got back from a short little walk, okay? I'm fortunate enough to live in an area where there's a trail just like down the road. Really just a short walk, you hit the trail, do the small little loop, you're back at home, okay? And this is the thing that I normally do when the sun is out, when it's summertime. I'm a summertime kind of guy. Like I love that's my bag. And it's very short-lived here in Spokane, Washington. And if you're like me, once that sun starts to taper off and it's, summer's over, fall is starting, which it's beautiful, but like my mood starts to tank, brother. And I start falling off mentally. I start falling off on my motivation, just starts to slide. Oh, I don't feel like going to the gym. I don't feel like eating right. I just want to be like there's already like a lack of comfort just because the season's over, and I'm like, great, it's over. Now it's all downhill. We're in for a winter. I don't like the snow. Like it's nice at first, but it's not my bag. Like I don't thrive in that. Some people do. And if you do, that's great. A lot of people in this area do, because they're winter sports type of people. They snowboard, they ski, they this, they that, they like to get in accidents the first day of snow. Like this is the way in the PW way. It's the PW way. It's really the W is the PNW way. Not for me, brother. I'm from California. Like I need that sunshine. So I was watching Andrew Huberman. He's a doctor. Whatever field, not like a medical doctor. Actually, I don't know. He might. Huberman Labs podcast. He's an intelligent gentleman, right? So he was talking about how important it is to shortly after you wake up to get up. First of all, a body in motion stays in motion. To get up and go outside and get some sunlight. Because again, that's what I tend to do in the summertime. Like I want to be out in it. It's short-lived. I'm trying to get my fill. I got plenty of my fill this season working at the pool. But he was talking about how, and depending on the day, the more sunlight there is, the less time you need to spend outside after you wake up. The less time you have to spend in it, because the sun's coming through and you're getting everything from the energy of the light. If it's like a little overcasty, the sun's kind of poking through, you spend a little more time. If it's just blanketed over, you got to spend even more time. And it just made so much sense to me, like how he breaks down the science of it. But like people need that, because like our ancestors, before they had everything that we have now, like they would wake up and they would get to it. Whether it's like farming crops or going to catch whatever, or they're on you know what I mean? Like they lived outside. So just imagine how much different those people, yes, those are like, we came from them, but their lives are completely different than ours. And so for me, for my mental health, like I need to do that. So this time around, it's like, in order for me to stay on top of me, like I gotta put in more effort, again, spend more time, put in more of an effort to like maintain my mental health. And that's my goal. Like, so if maybe it's snowy or it's rainy or it's not like the greatest conditions for me outside, like, yo, just get out there and do it. Your day is going to be a lot better. You're going to have more energy. That's what the whole podcast with Andrew Huberman was about, like energy and like how to gain more energy and like be more energetic. And that's starting off your day right and starting off your day getting some sunshine, brother. And I'm out there walking and I got to thinking, it's like, man, that's how it is with Like, I've played music my whole life. I don't really anymore, aside from like jamming on my electric kit, just drumming to like music, just because I gotta have something. But when you're like a creative person, eventually you're gonna get stuck in a rut, right? And it's like, man, what do I like? I don't feel creative. I'm in a rut right now. I got writer's block. Like, you can't. And I think everyone on some level has creativity in them. But then you got to find creative ways to stay creative, creative ways to get inspired, not do the normal thing like get behind your guitar and expect magic to happen, or sit behind your notepad and expect to write the greatest verse ever, like every time you step up to the plate. Then you got to find creative ways to get inspired, like maybe listening to music or doing like a writing exercise or whatever it is that works for you. You have to try, you have to just keep trying. And it's just, for me, the season of trying, I fall short of, but it just tells me that I just gotta try harder at trying, just to stay where I'm at. When I get where I'm at, when it comes easy, if that makes any sense. And it's not easy, but there is a way. There's always going to be a way. Like, you gotta do something. It's more important to do something. Here's also the other thing about being creative. It's like, a lot of times when you have some shitty idea, this is what you gotta work through that. You gotta, and especially when you start something out at first, you're gonna suck. Or your ideas are gonna be not that good, especially like when you look back on them years, months, weeks later. It's like, it can be cringe. It's fucking cringe house. But you gotta get the crappy ideas out. You gotta get the crap out in order to get to the good stuff. You gotta dig before you get to the gold, brother. Like, every person has had to do this. There's really no way around it. And sometimes you get lucky and you find magic in a moment, but like, I don't know if I call it luck, but that's just the conditions were right for it. So like, count your blessings when it comes to that. But that's the thing about blessings too. Like, you don't have to believe in God, whether the G in that word is capital or lowercase for you, or whether you're turned off by the idea of God. You don't need to believe in religion or anything like that, or the church, to understand when you're blessed. Like, that's just a word we use. And I attribute it to like, so I've had my shit, right? I've gone through my shit. I've had 2 DUIs. And so I've had to go to treatment. I've had to fucking look deep inside here and here, and like uncover some shit. And I've been granted the opportunity to have to look inside, which I've done that my whole life anyway. Like, but eventually it got me into an AA room. And in Canada also, side note, it's actually not AA, it's AAA. Because it's AA, eh? That's not even funny. But, you know, a lot of times, especially when you got the newcomers, you talk about how, man, the idea of God, like, a lot of people are turned off by that idea because they associate it with religion and all of the crap that can come with that, depending on what side of the fence you're on. And so it's hard for them, because a lot of AA, it's not religion based, it's belief based. And yes, in the big book they talk about God, but it's a higher power of your choosing, how you choose to understand it. And you can understand it however you want. But we just use this word God because that's just what we know. That's just how we know. That's the language. That's the terminology. That's just how we know to communicate something that we don't understand. That's just how we try to get on the same page so we can get past that and just move forward with like this power that we have inside of us that also works with the power that we don't understand to move forward and like work through the issues we've got. Like there's a reason why I ended up in those rooms and had to be in them for 8 times a month for 2 years. And granted, I slacked off a little bit at the end because I got senioritis and I was like, yo, dude, like I'm tired of getting my slip sign. Like we're gonna make this work. But anyway, so for me, when I showed up, because I'm not like a religious person, I don't go to church, but I'm also not shut off to the idea of it. I feel like I've been saved in my life. There's plenty of times when I could have not made it home, but I did. Now you say, okay, tsunami, like that's just chance. Some people believe that everything happens for a reason. I don't know if I necessarily believe that. I think sometimes things just happen. But if you're going to find reason, everything happens for a reason if you find reason in everything that happens. That's a bar. So I was never really turned off when I got to those rooms, like by the idea of God, like because I understood coming in, like that's just how people communicate something that they don't understand. We got to get over that to move forward. Like I said before, but there was an issue for a lot of people. Like, they show up. And again, a lot of times people show up, you don't go to AA because you're feeling good. You don't end up in a treatment group, a rehabilitation drug and alcohol treatment group or rehab or whatever it is because you're on a winning streak. And these are just regurgitated ideas that I got from there. There's a lot of good that I got from these AA meetings and treatment. And the entire experience as a whole, which lasts years, costs dollars, stacks, bands on bands. I'm not talking music. But a lot of people were turned, that was a common theme, was people not being able to grasp the concept. They got turned off immediately because it's like, oh, the God as we understand him and God this and God that. It's like, look, man, I get it. And maybe it's not the right time for you. Maybe you got to push through it a little harder than others. But that's not, you shouldn't allow, I'm not going to say you shouldn't, but you're not allowing yourself to gain experience from this experience because you're turned off by the word God. It's not that big of a deal. But I learned a lot from it. And again, I'm not a religious person, but I am open to what's basically anything. Some things I'm not convinced. But try not to hold myself from these experiences. So take a walk around the block, get some air, get some sunshine. You gotta, like, these are the elements of life that we just, like, that's where we come from. In my mind, like the stars, in one sense or another. The heavens. The heavens. Like, this is where we come from. We're creatures of this planet. And this planet gives us everything we need to survive. And you could argue that we're not really a natural part. Hey, let's not get into that. I mean, we do look different from most animals, right? There's no denying that we're kind of an anomaly on this planet. We don't live like other creatures, but we're here. And like everything that we need to survive, the earth gives us. That's why they call it Mother Earth. Like the nourishment, the nutrients, the sunshine. Like if you're not feeling good, there's ways to get out of that. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy or come easy. I'm a victim of it. I'm just as much a victim of it as anyone else, of the instant gratification. When things don't work out quick for me or I don't catch on with things quick, I get frustrated. But everything you need is in front of you. People suffering more than others in other ways. Try meditating Try exercising. Try breath work. Try yoga. Because people who have money love to throw out, and I'm a believer in therapy, and I've been before. Shit's expensive. So it's easy to be like, you need to go see a therapist. Well, I don't have the money. Well, let's say you have the money. You're not going to walk into, how do you find a good therapist that fits for you? You're not going to just walk into the first psychiatrist or psychologist and then immediately just vibe with them. Like this, it's not that easy. But there are other ways to at least try and cope. Granted, there are people with crippling depression and crippling anxiety. So I don't deal with that. I can empathize. I can't necessarily sympathize because I've never been there, but there are ways to try and cope. You just have to be willing and open-minded enough to try them. And there's a placebo with it too, because if you walk into something and you're like, there's no way this shit's going to work. There's no way that shit's going to work. Like, you have to be open to things in order to heal. We're all trying to heal on some level, whether it's trauma from our childhood, which most of us have, on some level, because it's all relative. Like, your trauma is going to sit higher on your own trauma meter than it is on someone else's. You never know what someone's going through. And you can't say like, oh, well, you didn't go through what I go through, so your suffering, there's no way your suffering could be as great as mine. That mentality hurts you more than it does them. And it's better just to not say shit like that, because you don't know what someone's going through and you don't know how it affects them. Try new things. You got to do it. You got to try. You feel yourself slipping, it just means you have to try harder. And that's the hard part about it, is that when you do feel yourself slipping, the last thing you want to do is put more effort in general, but then more effort into something that you don't know is going to pay off or not, or when it's going to pay off. Like, how much work do I have to put into this thing, and how much faith do I have to have in it? There's so many different variables and so many levels and degrees of it. It's like, how much of that do I have to put in before I'm even going to see results? Because there is a thing called wasting time. It's like, you got to know when to quit, but you also know there's also like that's going to apply to really anything. Like, a lot of times when people are successful, it's right after the point where they really feel like they're just going to give up. But you also have to know when to give up, because when you're letting something go, chances are you're going to replace it with something else. That's why a lot of times when like you have goodbyes with people, like you make a move, you move into a different city, like you're not as much feeling the pain of leaving something, because you're on to something new. Like, you're replacing all the old memories and experiences with new ones. So like, that's the beauty in it, is like, you're moving on to something new. It's a lot easier to deal with saying goodbye to the old, because you're having to, I got to buy new shit. I got to find a new place. I'm ending one relationship. Now I got to, whatever, I'm going into another, I don't know, whatever it is. So whatever it is, just make sure you like the video, dislike the video. What are your thoughts? Leave a comment if you want. It's free. All of it's free. Get at me personally, Tsunami Chavez. Follow me on Snapchat, TEC2592. Add me on whatever, Instagram, Tsunami Chavez. Capital C, capital T, no space in between them. This many.